Imagine you're flying at 35,000 feet. Hours later, the aircraft begins its descent, but outside the cockpit window? Nothing. No runway, no horizon. Just thick fog, heavy rain, or a wall of snow. So how do pilots land when they can't even see the runway? The answer is one of aviation's most remarkable technologies, the Instrument Landing System, or ILS. Instead of relying entirely on their eyes, pilots can use invisible radio signals to guide the aircraft toward the runway. Here's the clever part. An ILS sends out two main signals. One tells the aircraft whether it is left or right of the runway centerline. The other tells it whether it is above or below the correct descent path. Inside the cockpit, these signals appear on the pilot's instruments. If the aircraft drifts left, the instruments tell the pilot to correct right. Too high? The system shows that too. The pilot's job is to keep the aircraft precisely aligned with these invisible paths. And on suitably equipped aircraft and runways, the autopilot can follow those signals automatically. In some very low visibility operations, the aircraft can even perform an Autoland controlling the approach, flare, and touchdown with minimal manual input. But here's the important part. The pilots aren't just sitting there watching the computer. They're constantly monitoring the aircraft, the navigation systems, altitude, speed, and the approach itself. And everything has to meet strict requirements. The aircraft needs the right equipment. The runway needs properly maintained landing systems. The crew must be trained and certified. And the weather has to fall within the limits of the particular approach. If something goes wrong or the aircraft isn't properly aligned, the pilots don't gamble. They go around. They add power, climb away from the runway, and either attempt another approach or divert to another airport. And pilots practice exactly this kind of situation repeatedly in flight simulators. Because when visibility disappears, there is no time to figure things out for the first time. There's another fascinating detail. When people say an aircraft is landing in zero visibility, it doesn't necessarily mean the pilots see nothing. Aviation has very precise definitions for visibility and decision height. Depending on the approach category and equipment, pilots may be required to see specific runway references before continuing, so the aircraft isn't simply flying blind. It's following an incredibly precise combination of radio signals and human judgment. Think of it as an invisible runway extending through the fog, one that the aircraft can detect even when your eyes can't. And when the runway finally appears through the clouds, it may look like the pilots suddenly found it. But they didn't. They've been precisely tracking it all along. So the next time you're looking at an airplane window and see nothing but clouds during the approach, remember, your pilots don't always need to see the runway to know exactly where it is. They have technology designed to guide them there. And that is how modern aviation can land an aircraft when the world outside the cockpit seems to have completely disappeared. For more fascinating stories about aviation, subscribe to Boarding Gate 28.